Hello, finite math students. I just wanted to give you some overview for what we're going to be covering here in week 1, which is going to be a little bit of overview of what we call linear math. Linear math is a sort of type of finite math that we'll get into in a second, but for this first week we want to start it out nice and easy. Your main goals for this week would be you want to familiarize yourself with WebAssign. That's going to be important to getting everything work nicely. You also want to make sure that you're able to log on to Blackboard, because on Blackboard that's where you're going to get things like practice tests and where you're going to get information as to your scores under the gradebook. One thing to note about Blackboard before I come up with my magic point 3 is that over spring break, Blackboard's going to be shut down. And not only is it going to be shut down, but it's also going to be upgraded. Now I actually do believe this is going to be an upgrade, but I'll put this word upgrade in quotes because we hope it'll go all nice and smoothly, but who knows what'll actually happen. Generally, when you're dealing with computers, something can happen. So you want to make sure that you're getting good with WebAssign, and you want to make sure that you are able to log on to Blackboard. And 3, you want to make sure that you're actually able to email me, and that your email gets emails from me. So take a moment to add my email address, which maybe I can remember it, to your spam filters so that I get through. I'd say it's not common, but maybe about 2 or 3 people each semester either don't get emails from me, or when they send me emails and I try to reply back, it bounces back. Somehow I'm being blocked from that. So you want to make sure that you've added me to your email list. And if you're not getting emails from me, because I'll probably email you maybe every 2 weeks or so, then you want to call the college and dial in extension 3246. Give me your name and your number where I can reach you, because it almost never works that you actually find me in my office. And let's try to work on getting that email to work. Alright, but I did want to give you just a little bit of math too. And that little bit of math I want to give you is this. There's a couple things you're going to be talking about. One's going to be the distance formula. The distance formula comes from a very familiar formula. It's the Pythagorean Theorem, the area of the triangle. This distance formula that we're talking about here in the finite book, well, I want you to imagine an x and a y axis, and there's a couple points. And the idea is we want to find the distance between those 2 points, but in general what we've got is we've got an x distance and a y distance. So each of my 2 points can be done in the coordinate system. I've got x1, y1 and x2, y2. And what I'm interested in is the distance along the x-axis, which we call x2 minus x1. And then I'm also interested in the distance along the y-axis, which is y2 minus y1. And what does this Pythagorean theorem say? Well, it says we add those 2 distances together and we square both of them. And then I didn't want c squared. Instead, I just want distance. So I don't want this c squared here. I just want the actual c itself. We relabel it d for distance. And I take the square root of both sides to get this. So this is your distance formula. And that's going to be the first couple of homework questions that you deal with. Then after that, you get a couple homework questions that deal with some straight line types of things. y minus y1 equals mx minus x1 is the point slope form of the line. And slope is this formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Notice there's some similarities between distance and slope, but not a lot. But there's still a little bit of overlap there. This is more often probably known as rise over run, because we think of the y-axis as an up and down sort of thing, which is rise, and we think of the x-axis as a left and right sort of business, which is the run. Slope just tells me how much, if I move a certain distance to the right, how much up am I going to do. If slope's positive, when I move right, I'm going to go up. If slope's negative when I move right, I'm going to go down. So that's all that's talking about. So you'll find some homework questions where they give you a couple of points. So here's the point -2 minus 4. And then here's the point 2, 3. And these questions are wanting you to find the line that connects those two dots. So your first step is to figure out the slope. And your second step is to take that slope that we find. Here I get -7 on top, -4 on the bottom, which gives me 7/4. Notice this is a positive slope, and positive slopes, as I think from left to right, are increasing. If the slope's negative, this line would have been decreasing. So I take this slope and I plug this right in here for m, and then either one of these two points is good enough to plug in for my x1, y1. It doesn't matter which one I do, as long as I do them in pairs. If this is my y1, then this has to be my x1. If I choose this to be y1, then I have to choose this to be x1. These guys come as a combined pair. So I get y minus 3. My slope was 7/4 x, and since I picked y1 being 3, I'm going to pick my x1 to be 2. Let's take that formula down here where we can deal with it a little bit. Y minus 3 equals 7/4 x minus 2. I distribute the 7/4 through to get 7/4 x minus 7/4 times 2. Y still is -3. Y minus 3 here. I have 7/4. I'm just going to simplify this part here. This turns into -7/2. And then I'm going to add 3 to both sides. I'm just taking this form of the line, the point slope form, and I'm turning it into slope intercept form. 3 is the same thing as 3/1. One of the big deals in math is getting comfortable adding fractions. It's going to be a little bit important later on. I have 3/1, but the common denominator between 7/2 and 3/1 is 2. So I'd like this to be a 2 down here. Well, 1 times 2 gives me 2, but I can't just multiply the bottom. I have to multiply top and bottom to keep the balance of the fraction. So I also get 3 times 2, which gives me 6. So I still have that 7/4 x, but now I have minus 7 plus 6, and all of this is over 2. That negative is attached to the 7. My final answer here is 7/4 x. -7 plus 6 leaves me with -1/2. This gives me my final answer. And this fraction addition and simplification business that we did is going to become a bit of a big deal later on. Fractions sometimes scare people. I don't think they should. And you certainly want to get comfortable with them, because some of the stuff that we're going to do later on is going to involve the simplex method. And that's going to be involving matrices. And both of these things are going to have a lot of fractions in them. Now, I do let you have a calculator in this class, but realistically, the time you spend punching things into calculators and the chance for you punching the wrong button on a calculator makes it important enough that you want to have at least a basic idea of what's going to happen with the fractions, because both of these are going to have fractions in them. Real life involves fractions. So that's my incredibly helpful final thought for the day. Kind of stealing that from Jerry Springer there. No, now I'm probably going to get copyright sued or something. But anyway, real life uses fractions. That's my thought. Feel free to email me if you have questions. Attempt the homework. When you're dealing with WebAssign, do realize that there are little boxes embedded in each of the problems that are going to allow you to click them, and they'll provide you with links either to examples in the textbook or to actual videos created by the textbook to explain those things. Every week or so, I'm going to try to provide an overview of that week here on YouTube. And this is the overview for week 1. And as always, if you have any questions, send me an email. And if that email's not working or I don't respond back to you in about 24 hours, then please call the college and punch in my extension number, and we'll try to get tech to make that working for you.